Is the mic still on?
You got Ken and Beezy, Sophie and Mike, feet for a ride. The people want to know, is the mic still on? I'm saying.
What next?
Oh God, is B gone yet?
No.
I was gonna say I'll go, but let me beat B because B shit's always fucking. So I would imagine most of y'all have heard about. Hold on, let me pull up his name. Sorry.
I'm not a big fan of those fear of gods, by the way.
Some of them are dope, yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them is like,
Yeah, some of them rough. Mr. Robert Aaron Long. He is the gentleman who shot up 2 spas in Georgia.
Oh my God.
One in North Georgia, one off of Piedmont, which was coincidentally down the street from where I used to live.
Really?
Yeah, it was right down the road. I never went to. I don't go to massage spas. I'm cheap like that. But so yeah, he shot 8 people. 6 were Asian women. The most interesting thing, not the most interesting thing, but one of the interesting things about this is the police are not calling it a hate crime.
Mm-hmm.
right.
Is that interesting? Oh, you said you already clarified that.
It's kind of interesting.
It is interesting.
Based on, I mean, it's not surprising,
okay,
but it is interesting.
Yeah.
I see where you're going.
Gotcha.
Yeah, based on where we live, this is fucking status quo, especially dealing with Cherokee County white police officers. I mean, if it was in Cobb County, it'd be even fucking worse.
What were the other two? What, did
White.
They were white.
It was a white guy and a white woman, I believe, who just happened to be in the spa.
Oh.
So we don't know if they tried to intervene or if he just went in there and just started bucking and just caught them. We don't really know.
Gotcha.
But they clearly were not part of his supposed focus, which he now claims is his sex addiction. So, what'd she say?
I didn't hear you, so.
Interesting.
She
She said interesting.
Say it one more time.
Say what?
What you just said. I was just saying because it don't sound like it's picking up. That's the only
it
reason
keeps
I
breaking
said
up
it.
whenever this word you're saying.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, go ahead.
I think she said interesting.
Yeah, she said interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
Just nod, Sophie. There we go.
Yeah, I was just saying for the listeners, really. That was for the
Yeah,
listeners.
listeners, she said interesting. So, yeah, I just wanted to see what you guys thought about this whole thing. Because when I first saw it, I was like, wow. So the anti-Asian violence is ramping up in Georgia. We just had this conversation.
Sure did.
This is fucking crazy. Then when I saw where the second shootings were, I was like, yo, that's fucking wild. That's right down the road from where me and my old roommate used to live. Then when I heard the excuse, because I was like, okay, clearly he's targeting Asians.
Yeah, I was like, how they gonna spin this?
How they gonna spin this? And I even said on Twitter, I was like, just wait for it. They came out and like, oh, well, this guy, he was having a bad day.
I cannot.
He was having a bad day.
Bruh.
And this is how it went for him. You know, he has a sex addiction. And yeah, he just targeted these places because of his sex addiction. Now, I'm not well versed with sex addiction. I mean, you know, I'm a guy, we like sex. I don't really know what makes you an addict, but I would imagine most dudes are sex addicts. But it just seems like, in my logic, and this is from an uneducated, ignorant standpoint, this is right down the road from a lot of porn stores. Okay? Why would your sex addiction lead you to Asian spas unless your focus was specifically on Asian women? It seems like, and I'm not saying this to get people to go shoot up porn stores, obviously, but it seems like if I was a sex addict and I was having this freak out about being a sex addict and I was blaming someone or something for my sex addiction, I would imagine it would be more the porn industry than it would be Asian women at massage parlors. And now I know he said he had been there before.
He hadn't or had?
He had.
Okay.
He had been there before. As much Googling as I could find, I could not find a single story that was lending to the idea that these were the stereotypical parlors that Americans love to pretend exist, where Asian women give you quote unquote happy endings. I could not find a single story saying that this happened there. So I just want to understand how they are avoiding this in some way being based on race and or it being a hate crime, considering he's relating Asian women to his sex addiction, aka sex objects. I'm confused by all of this.
Because he said it wasn't.
That's all it is. That's all it took.
That's
Huh?
all-
Yeah, you're right.
That's all it
That's all it
takes.
took. Yeah,
You're right.
Hey,
That's-
did you kill them because they were Asian? No.
No.
Okay, no hate
Yeah,
crime.
You're right.
You know, so
You're right.
you know, we'll just go by that. Like, come on, man. Like, what more than do you need? You know, the person. You know, if he not obviously, but yeah, he's possibly gonna say no. You know, and blame it on something else, because when you take the sex addict part,
Yeah.
it plays into the stereotypes that Mike was talking about, and it covers up the story, because people have heard about, you know, the happy endings that Mike was talking about. So, oh yeah, he probably was a sex addict because we know those Asian massage parlors, sort of thing. So that's what, like, and so this whole thing to me is really weird. We have a lot of conversations. We have conversations on the show that sometimes manifest themselves like weeks after. It's kind of nuts. And this was one on the wrong side of that. What makes this really, really, really fucking weird to me is going back to our conversation that we didn't get into about the anti-Asian, the uptick in anti-Asian rhetoric and stuff, or at least the coverage of it by the mainstream media. You have the coverage of it by mainstream media, and then this happened.
Yep.
That's fucking weird, man. It feels very conspiratorial in my head that all of a sudden this one thing starts to get like covered, and then this thing happens. What the fuck is going on?
I know where you're going, but I don't think that that's really what's happening. I think these kinds of things were happening. But like, did you hear about the guy who was shoved down his entire face slashed with a box cutter?
No,
because he was Asian.
No, I okay.
Right, they weren't being reported. I think, and of course, this is a shooting, so it's different.
Yeah,
but I think these violent acts towards Asians have. And I said this before on the show before that these violent things were happening. Media was just not covering it.
But to escalate, it's escalated to shooting up an Asian business.
They said that violence towards Asians has gone up 150% since coronavirus, especially since y'all boy Trump was out here calling it the Wuhan virus,
the China virus.
Still calling it that?
He was on Fox News, and he had just recently said it.
Oh wait,
yes.
How recent?
Yes, right around the same time that this happened.
Within the last 2 weeks.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Kung
if I
Flu
heard
and
correctly,
all this other shit.
Yep, he said China virus.
Say what?
COVID.
He said what? Kung Fu what?
They
calling it the Kung Flu.
Yeah,
bro.
I'm laughing at Ron's reaction. I'm not laughing at the Kung Fu.
Yeah,
good thing you cleared that up.
Yeah. I had to think
they
about
might have
that.
jumped on you.
Yep.
Yeah. It's wild, man.
Yeah, it is, man. And you know, it's just you know, if I was Asian, I'd be disturbed. Like, this is very disturbing. Like, I saw the one lady that got punched by that white guy. Her eye was all fucked up, and she fought him back, you know, and stuff like that. I saw that story. You know,
you saw that?
She
got
fucked him
raised.
up.
No, I saw that, but you see, she got raised like 600 and something K on, I think, on GoFundMe or somebody. Somebody donated some money to her. Like,
yeah, that's what's up.
Kylie ain't give her none.
Right.
Maybe that's what it was. Kylie exhausted her help a poor person fund.
Yeah,
got to her.
Like, I hit my quota already.
Right. I'd helped enough this week.
Right.
Hit me back in 2.
Right.
But it's the leaps and bounds that the media goes through in order to not classify something as a hate crime or, you know, a white supremacist attack. What's up, dude?
And it's funny because something like it didn't get to that point of death, but I remember back in when 9/11 happened, because, you know, Detroit, we had like a really huge Arabic community, you know, like one of the biggest Arabic communities in the country. And I remember when 9/11 happened and white people was being pretty much, you know, like angry towards them, like for no reason. I mean, they just living citizens, they rocking their house, throwing eggs and hurting the children and stuff like that. I don't remember it got to any point where someone was dying, but it was definitely some physical hurt to older, like senior citizens of Arabic community. Like, it was bad, like during that, it was really bad, like seeing that. Like,
there were definitely multiple deaths. multiple deaths. Maybe not in Detroit specifically, but there were deaths all over when that was happening. It was happening here.
Yeah.
You know, brown people were getting attacked, beaten up, called names. I was with someone, a person we used to work with, who I now think is a piece of dog shit, and I don't speak to him anymore. But I was out with him, and we were trying to go to some store, and they had closed early. It was like a stores that sell like not Tupperware, but like plastic containers or whatever. And he really needed to get a plastic container, and they were closed. And the guy was walking out. He was like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, we're closed." And he got mad and was like, "Y'all all in the fucking Taliban anyway." And I'm in this car with this motherfucker, and I was like, "The fuck kind of shit is that?" He was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I was like, "Don't apologize to me. Apologize to him." And he refused to do it. And this was a common thing that was happening here, where brown people were getting accosted. So the Asian violence and rhetoric, like Ken was talking about, isn't surprising in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is, when this shooting happened, I wasn't like, "Oh my God, I'm shocked." It was like, I knew it was going to happen at some point.
It's on par. It's par.
Georgia. And we're dealing with white domestic terrorists. This is what they do. They always escalate to violence and shooting and killing. They always do.
Yeah.
They never stop at, "I'm going to punch you in the face and walk away."
Right.
They never stop at, "Oh, I'm just going to kick you when you're walking down the sidewalk." They always escalate to shooting. And it's only when the shooting happens that the media starts to really pay attention. Now we're getting these hashtags, "Stop Asian Hate." Why weren't y'all saying "Stop Asian Hate" when this dude got his face slashed? He has a permanent scar across his face just for being Asian on a fucking subway.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so many just the unprovoked attacks, man. And, you know, it's just like, and then, you know, just listening to a lot of podcasts and stuff, and, you know, they're just documenting like the things the untold stories that, you know, happens in that community, the different type of racism, the fetishism that they have to go through constantly, which is why using the sex addict thing works so well for this guy as a cover-up story, you know. And it's just it's unfortunate, man. And you know, for them to there we go, we met our quota, y'all. For them to just to not even, I mean, they do it with you know, Black, Hispanics, Jews, or whatever, but to just not admit that it's a hate crime, it's like, why? They're gonna do anything to protect the brand.
See, I'm glad you said that, because then were you about to say something?
Sure.
We had the chief of police in Cherokee County, Jay Baker. He was the one that went on TV and was like, "Oh, you know, he just had a real bad day, and this is how he reacted to his bad day." That was Jay Baker. Turns out later, I don't know if you guys saw this part, that Jay Baker was promoting these T-shirts that were calling COVID products of China. And these were shirts that were for sale. This is the chief of police that was handling this case.
Yeah, I saw that.
So when you ask, well, why are they not wanting to call it a hate crime? There's your answer. You have someone that is a fucking racist. And I know people are gonna be like, well, why is it racist to say it was a product of China? Okay, yes, this did come from China. But you have to understand, when you're putting out this rhetoric of this is a Chinese virus, you are implicating the entire region, and you're implying that it's their fault.
Right.
Because I can guarantee you, if America had some sort of virus that started, which is very easy, the way we treat our factory farms, it's very easy for this to happen here. This would not be called an American virus. It just wouldn't, especially if it came from the white farm area. This wouldn't be called the Caucasoid COVID. It wouldn't happen. So if you're calling this thing the Chinese virus, the Wuhan virus, and then you're spreading shirts, what would be the point if you're not trying to implicate and attack Asians? What would be the point of making a shirt that says COVID product of China? Give me a reason. If you're not a racist asshole, if you're just stating the facts, why?
The propaganda is real. And I think another thing too, I want to say it was like either 2 or 3, maybe even more of the people that were murdered during this whole thing were from Korean descent. And look, I worked at a location that was 50% Hispanic, 50% Korean. And I'm not making a joke when I say this, but it's difficult to kind of tell Asian people apart. You know what I'm saying? So when people put this propaganda out there that this is like a Chinese thing, it implicates all Asians. It's not just Chinese folk. It's the Koreans. It's the
Japanese.
Japanese. It's everybody, bro. Like and that shit is. It's sad, bro.
But see, I know this is not your point, so I don't want to. But even if it was just implicating Chinese people, you look at it and you're like,
yeah,
why are you singling out this person that is next to you as being the reason we have COVID?
Right. Yeah.
What goes through your head that makes you think, okay, I know COVID started across the seas in China in this wet market. You that has been working in this market that I go to every day for the past 20 years, I'm blaming you.
Yeah.
How does your brain process that and make that shit work?
Because it comes from it. Well, it was coming from up top.
Yep.
So so which we mentioned earlier, Trump continuously, saying that, pulling back, and then doubling down again. That propaganda. That's propaganda to all of those people that just gonna listen to him.
But again, what does that do?
What does
like
what do?
Like what does it do? Hurting, harming, killing an Asian person. Like it does nothing.
It makes you feel better. That's
really
what
like what the whole fuck. It's just, man, just to answer your question. I'm just answer your question real quick, Mike. Like when I saw it, man, like it was just fucking sad, bro. It made me remember why I don't pay attention to news like that back in the day. I do for the sake of this podcast nowadays, just to kind of be up on things a little bit more. But yeah, man, it just fucked up my day. You know what I'm saying? And then I started thinking about the conversation at hand. I was like, damn, man, what did I say in that conversation that would make me look like an asshole? And I started thinking about that. I'm just like,
you didn't, because you owned it.
I know I did. Yeah. I know I didn't, but you know, you start thinking about those things like, fuck, any little thing that I possibly said, I wish I wouldn't have said it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, I'm nowhere near think that way, nowhere near want this on that community. Like, and it's just so fucked up. And then I started thinking about I was like, how the fuck can they spin this?
Yeah.
And they fucking did.
They always
did.
do.
And I was just like, wow, they really found a way to spin this shit, bro. I was really thinking of the different ways they could feel like they can't do it. They can't do it.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers absolutely did that shit. Yeah. And I was just like, see, man, it's just so fucked up. And I just don't fucking get it, man.
The part that still fucks with my brain is that these guys are so fucking stupid that they don't understand that even if you're spinning it to be a sex addiction thing, it's still racist. You specifically went to Asian spas. Why? Why are you associating Asian spas with a sex addiction?
Right.
Are they advertising that we're sex workers? No. You are then assuming they're sex workers because it's an Asian spa. Ding, 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 Jay Baker, you dumb fuck. That's racist.
Now you know what I think, like the deeper level of this is, and what they're trying to not dig into is that this is really domestic terrorism.
Absolutely.
This 100%. Is 100% domestic terrorism, and they don't want to open up that can of worms because it was one of theirs.
Yep. Going back, one of theirs, you mean Georgian or white?
White.
It's always a white person. No, you've only had one. Fucking what was the cop? Sniper? Yeah, I can't think of his name. Chris Dorner.
Yeah. Going back to what you're saying, it is racist, but it's a different type of racism, and it's the racism that they're not often confronted with, or that's often discussed in an openly like manner.
Yeah.
So for a lot of when those stories come out, that propaganda come out to kind of influence the massive number of white people, or just people in general that are watching this, like, oh my God, that's terrible, what happened?
Yeah.
And they hear that, they were like, they're not gonna even think past, they're not gonna even probably even acknowledge that it's racist.
Right.
And it probably will just stop there. They're not gonna even think about like he shot it up because it was Asian and because it was related to COVID, especially when the guy comes out and say that, because people that watch or hear that, there may not be any follow-up. This story probably just stops there for them.
Well, to be fair, I don't know that it was related to COVID. It could really be that he has a sex addiction and he shot it up because he was freaking out over his sex addiction. My whole point is, this is still racist and this is still a hate crime. And the fact that they're refusing to classify it as such just shows how trash the police force is. You have white supremacists within the police force that are clearly protecting their own. If this was, and I know we always say, but this was a black person that walked up into 2 Asian spas and shot them motherfuckers up, guarantee we would not get this type of treatment. It would not be, well, let's see what's going on with this guy.
He just had a bad day.
He had a real bad day. You know how things go.
A bad fucking day.
He got a bad haircut.
He wouldn't have got,
you know,
he wouldn't even got arrested. He would have got shot.
He'd have been dead.
Yeah, because this motherfucker was running.
Right.
They found him like 100 something miles away.
150.
He was heading to Florida.
Yep, 150 miles south of Atlanta.
No, he was going to go shoot up more people in Florida. So this is an interesting thing because right before.
Whoa.
What's wrong?
You said he was going to shoot more Asian places in Florida?
So he was definitely going to go shoot up more spas.
Okay.
I can't go on record and say for a fact that they were going to be Asian spas, but I'm sure there's a 99.9999999% chance that they were going to be Asian spas. Because from what I read, his mom is the one who told on him. His mom snitched him out and got him arrested. But he was on his way to Florida to shoot up more spas. But what I found interesting, we can move on after this. What I found interesting, because I can imagine people having these comments, was I was having a discussion with someone on Reddit where I don't remember what we were talking about, like what the majority of the conversation was, but for some random reason they threw in like, why are you protecting Asians? You know, half the Asian people that you're protecting will call you nigger behind your back. My response was, so fucking what? What is your point? Like, because I've gotten this from family members. I won't say which ones in case they're listening, but I've gotten from family members who have also been like, why do you talk about, you know, anti-Mexican violence? Why do you talk about anti-Asian violence? You know, those motherfuckers don't care about us. But I'm like, this is how racism works. You take the personal and you make it public. I had this one interaction with this Asian person, so therefore all Asian people are racist. I had this one interaction or 12 interactions with these Mexican people, therefore all Mexican people are racist. And I always try to get them to understand is like, this is what white supremacists want us to do. They want us to fight amongst ourselves. If we see white supremacists, because that's what this guy is, give a fuck what any of y'all say. If we see white supremacists murdering black people and then diverting their attention and they murder Asian people and they divert their attention, they murder Mexican people, and we're just like, well, we're only gonna focus on the ones that directly affect our community, it's kind of fucked. But if we all band together and we're like, yo, let's all just attack white supremacy, not the way white supremacy affects Mexicans or Asians or whoever. If we look at it as attacking an idea versus attacking a specific person, we'd be so much better off. But that conversation really bothered me. I was like, why the fuck are you bringing up that I shouldn't defend Asian people because you've had interactions with racist Asians? How do you not see that that's the same fucking thing that white people do? I don't like niggers because this one time a nigger stole my purse. And now we're doing the same shit?
Well, I think what that person is doing, while there's some truth to what he's saying, and you know, about Asians and other races, you're spot on in terms of how it's also a white supremacist ploy to keep the division, keep the different groups fighting among each other, to not have that unity to fight up, right? And then I think that person is also going along with the idea that they are operating under the assumption that they're a monolith, right? And even if it was a majority, minority, whatever, you know, I think just trying to find, I think just fucked up is fucked up regardless, but finding a way to kind of come together to fight, because there is an Asians for Black Lives organization that's out there that has donated to Breonna Taylor's fund and George Floyd fund and all this other stuff. So they don't operate in unison. You know, they don't share these ideas across the board. They're not the fucking board.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No one does. No one operates under a monolithic idea.
Exactly. So, you know, if like, we should all be sympathetic to seeing something like this and understanding understand like what's the catalyst behind it and why So, you know, I think now more than ever is the time to kind of come together. You know, like the church that went out and did the rally. You know, there was an Asian group that did a rally for Black Lives. You know, so where are those stories? And without those stories, it goes back to what you were saying about the propaganda. You know, there's this propaganda that Asians have been accepted by white America. And there's this eugenist that basically kind of wrote that they achieve more than the Hispanics and the Blacks and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. But then when you look at the data, you know, according to Asian people, that the data says that their wealth disparity is just that doesn't even match. It's not even equal.
A lot of that comes back also from way back in like the Hitler days, because, you know, there's a sort of forgotten part where Hitler accepted Japanese as part of the Aryan nation. And I think people kind of still hold on to that, and they still kind of look at certain Asians, it's like you were saying, they just lump all Asians together. So they're like, well,
I think it's South Asians too. I think it's South Asians. Well, anyway, that eugenist was, yeah.
The eugenist thing was South Asian?
I think the guy I was talking about, I can't remember his name, but I think it was South Asian.
I mean, that's always been a stereotype that they're great at math.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Okay, I mean, all right. I mean, I grew up in Sacramento, had plenty of Asian people, and they were no better in math than I was. So I don't really know where that came from, but I forgot my point. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think people really need to understand that when Black folks go to bat for other races that are under the same, not equal, but are under the same type of white supremacist boot, that shit helps all of us. Like when a Black person speaks out about white supremacy attacking Asians, don't look at it like, oh, well, he's just defending Asians. No, I'm attacking white supremacy. If a Black person says, oh, look at what white supremacy is doing to this Spanish community, that's not necessarily the Black person just going to bat for Spanish people. No, that's them attacking white supremacy. What's wrong, Rod? What's going on?
I just had a thought. I was going to wait till you finished.
Oh, I thought you were like,
no.
You look drowned out.
Man, yeah,
I could tell.
But I had a point to both of you guys' point or whatever that I thought about when this happened as well was so do you guys think it should be a pivot as far as like protesting is concerned? Like, because, you know, we have Black Lives Matter, we have this anti-Asian thing now. Do you think it now should be like stop white supremacy, stop domestic terrorism? Like, should that be like the us coming together type of thing instead of just making it one thing? Like, cause like you just said, right? You said when you defend and help, you know, anti-Asian hate, right? Somebody close to you doesn't understand why you're doing that. But you have to tell them like, well, no, when I help them, that means I'm against white terror, you know, domestic terrorism, white supremacy. You have to literally tell them that. So do we pivot and just make it plain as day what it is that we're against as one?
So I'm gonna say no. Okay. And the reason for this is because there are not one-to-one comparisons with oppression when it comes to different groups.
Right.
Now, of course, I don't want to make it the oppression Olympics and say, oh, well, we're oppressed more than you. But if we're having rallies for these Black folks that are murdered, I think that we need to make it specific. I don't think we need to make it clear. I think that the people that are having these misunderstandings of why there's a Black march versus why there's an Asian march need to understand that white supremacy is at the top and they're affecting different groups differently.
Right. How I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No. Keep going.
There are different reasons for why we might march versus there being different reasons for why Asian folks might march. And if we try to lump all that together in one big argument, then everything gets muddy.
How so?
Because, okay, so if I am making an issue of police brutality, because that's mainly
Black people
where the Black Lives Matter thing came from, is police brutality.
Okay.
So that is a very specific argument versus if I say, okay, well, here's Black Lives Matter battling police brutality, but here's also Asian Lives Matter. I'm just making that up. I don't even know if that's really a thing.
I got you.
Well, there's like the Stop AAPI violence.
Yeah.
Here's that. But that is more focused on citizen to citizen violence.
Right.
So if I try to make that one argument, it's like, how are we addressing? We can't address both of those things in one fell swoop.
You can't in that situation. So what if it's
you can or can't?
Can't in that situation. So what if it's a situation like the Dylan Roof and in this thing?
Mm-hmm.
At that point, can that be one rally?
It could be, but yeah, it could. But I don't see the problem in having separate rallies, but just having one central idea.
Right. So the central idea is what people get, like we all can agree that people get fucked up. They don't realize the central idea in these situations.
And I think it's okay for us to have to explain that to them.
Is it though?
I do. I think it's okay if Black people look at this and they say, well, why the fuck do I care about Asians? Asians ain't never done shit for me.
See, that's why I think it gets muddy, because you have people that just can't see it that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if you just make it plain today, no, this is about domestic terrorism and white supremacy. This is why we're marching, and this is why we're all banding together to stop this in general.
They're the bad guy. White supremacist is the big bad guy.
Yeah, but that's also giving people, in my opinion, a little too much credit.
Giving who a little bit too much?
The people that we're talking to. So if I make one big rally and it's the Stop White Supremacy rally, even I, as a person that's bored enough to look into the different nuances of white supremacy and how white supremacy can affect different communities disproportionately, I don't think a lot of people are going to do that work. So if we're just saying, hey, we're fighting white supremacy, okay, well, explain white supremacy to me. Then I have to sit here and be like, okay, well, white supremacy is cops, white supremacy is community, white supremacy is family, white supremacy is economics. I have to do all of that and then try to make all of that in one point.
Well, real quick, but one could say Fred Hampton did that, right? One could say that Fred Hampton with the Rainbow Coalition, that he did make that one central theme that everybody shared.
Not everybody shared it.
Well, everybody in the Rainbow Coalition shared the one theme or whatever. So why can't we do that again?
Because I don't know that, I mean, this is gonna sound bad. I don't know that he was 100% successful in getting everyone to understand that it was a central idea for all of these different groups, because what is he associated with? Black Panthers.
Right.
If you ask 90% of the people on the street, hey man, that actually know who he is. Fred Hampton, what was he known for? Black Panthers. What was Black Panthers known for? Stopping white people from fucking with Black people. Is that it?
Right.
Yes. They don't know that he was also associated with assisting poor whites and Southeast Asians, or, you know, Spanish, Latino, whatever.
Right.
They don't know all that stuff. And I think that was probably, to be honest, it might have been an easier task back then to loop that under one umbrella.
But see, I think just based on the little bit of study that I've since then, since the movie, like, is that they didn't want him to do that at all. Like that was more like the government or whatever. That was the one thing they didn't want to do, because that was more powerful than anything, being a centralized just Black thing.
Yeah.
The Black thing we could control, you know, let them go on and have their rallies. But now when you're involving everyone against this one thing, now, oh shit, now that's becoming a big problem. I didn't hear you say that.
That was my fault. I overtalked you. I'm sorry. No, finish what you were saying. That was my fault.
No, I already said it. Go ahead.
It was because he was involving whites. I think that's really what scared them. I think if he was just unifying Black people,
the minorities and stuff,
Latinos, they wouldn't have cared as much. But I think that, because this is my thinking, I don't have any I can't send you an article that backs this up, so you can fact tell me if you want to, but I've always looked at that as, if he did not involve
the whites,
poor whites, they wouldn't have cared as much.
I agree.
Patriots.
I agree. Yeah.
Which is what happened to Martin Luther King too.
Yep.
So in terms of messaging, Rod, I think there needs to be education on white supremacy. So I do think that at some point that's going to become part of the larger conversation, especially after what is going on with the anti-Asian stuff due to COVID.
Where do you get education on white supremacy from, though?
Google. That's not me being a smart ass.
I understand.
Literally.
Yes. We know that, right? But like, just in general, where do you get education on white supremacy?
Well, it's gonna. I think that it starts with the organizations. The AAPI PI community coming together, kind of putting that out, because that's what they're talking. They're talking about this under the umbrella of white supremacy. And when you like, because the one constant has been Black people.
Okay.
Throughout mostly history, because other stuff kind of goes in it ebbs and flows. There are peaks and valleys.
Right.
The anti-Asian stuff escalated because of COVID. You know, for the most part, they've had racist stuff happen to them.
Yeah.
But like it's, you know, like I said, it's almost like a different type of racism. So you look at white supremacy, and then you have to ask yourself, like, does a thing such as trickle down racism exist, right? Like, from white supremacy, can it trickle down to these individual groups? And for the most part, it does. And it manifests itself in different forms.
Right.
Okay.
And all of that is under the umbrella of white supremacy. So when this thing is happening with the Asians, and they come out and say, this is what white supremacy looks like, in people's head, it's like, huh? I thought that was always with Black people. So that's where the education and part of these conversations come in at. This to say that it manifests itself in different ways.
Yep.
But each fight, each struggle is different.
Exactly.
And so each community has to continue to fight and focus for their own struggles, but also unite and unify with other communities in their struggles, because together is how what's the saying? Rise and boat lift all tides, or how's it go? I'm not good with this. Whatever it is, you know, rising tide lifts all boats, right?
Yeah.
You know, so you know, and throughout propaganda, people got to realize America is fucked up, but they're really fucking good at what they fucking do.
They're good at
And
staying fucked up.
Yeah, man, and they managed to create these divisions, and we have to deconstruct those divisions and build that shit back up. And I'm seeing that stuff manifest itself in different ways, but that's a whole other conversation when it comes to cancel culture.
Well, let me throw one more thing at you, then I'll shut up. But we cannot give white folks the idea that if they stop one thing, they're stopping white supremacy, because that's what they love.
Yep.
They love to think that if I just go do this one thing, my job is done. Just like I predicted from the beginning, the second they got Biden in office, you weren't gonna see white people talking about racism no motherfucking more. Not all white people, of course, but a lot of the people that I was seeing talking that shit before Biden are quiet as a fucking church mouse now, because they think their job is done.
Yeah.
So I think that when you try to not unify groups, but unify one central idea and say, this is white supremacy and this is what we stop, every white person is going to have a different idea of what that white supremacy is. So one white person might think that stopping white supremacy means getting Black people more jobs. One white person might think stopping white supremacy means getting Black people better housing and stopping redlining. One white person might think it means getting rid of police brutality. So they're going to focus on this one thing, and then they're not going to talk about any of the other shit. The only issue here is this is depending on white people not being lazy about wanting to dismantle white supremacy. They might be like, well, this is too much fucking work. I thought I could just deal with this one thing, but now you're done dumped 12 things on me. And you're telling me that all 12 of these is white supremacy?
Now it's the Asians too? What?
Yes, Chad. Yes, all of this is white supremacy. What you've been fighting, Chad, for the last year and a half, or what Bernie was telling you to fight, or you thought Bernie was telling you to fight, that was one small piece of this. Now, if you want to learn about all of this shit, don't just come talk to me. Go talk to your Asian brothers and sisters. Go talk to the Spanish brothers and go talk to everybody. This is all a product of white supremacy. It's not just what this one group is talking about. So yeah, is it making things harder? Yes, but in the end, it will be more efficient if you give a fuck to learn.
Yeah. Because you know, the anti-Black sentiment that exists in the Asian community, that was started by the white supremacists and the white people, all the way back to the fucking LA riots and shit.
Exactly.
When that store owner killed that Black woman, they took that they manipulated that thing, and they started to sow those divisions right then and there.
Yep.
There was even a white politician, I forget his name already. There was even a white politician on Twitter, it was like 2 days ago, that was saying this is a response and a product of Black people being anti-racist. Black people being anti-Asian.
Wow.
If I had time, I would find it, but we're probably trying to move on.
That's
they were trying to spin this and make this an issue with Black people.
How?
Now, granted, granted, of course there's anti-Asian sentiments in the Black community. Of course there is.
It's in probably every group.
It's in every single group that exists.
Yeah.
There's another group in every
Yes.
group.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But we don't have the power to really oppress Asian people. We don't. And Asian people don't have the power to really oppress us. This is all an issue with white supremacy. That's it.
See, and here comes the bullshit.
What did I say?
Well, this thing that you're talking about, this guy saying that. So
I thought you said what I said was bullshit.
No.
Ken about to get me. What did I say wrong, bro?
Nah, because correct me if I'm wrong, but the majority of the attacks have been by white people on Asians.
What? I'm sorry.
The majority of attacks have they been white people on Asians?
The majority. Oh, attacks.
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 It's
the
mask.
taxing. I got you. It's the mask. Yes. Well, I would say yes. The majority have been white people, but of course they are now starting to insert the videos of Black people attacking Asians to make it seem like this isn't a white supremacist thing. But where did we get this idea from? We got this shit from y'all. We learned it by watching you.
Yeah. So
white people.
The bullshit I'm talking about is starting to interject Black people into this because one, to nullify the white supremacist angle, two, to once again try to make Black people the face of this whole thing, and so yeah, I think this is something that is to be watched because it's it's already happening. It sounds like so so yeah. I mean, first of all, Black people ain't damn Black people. Anyway, let me move on.
Well, just really quick. Oh, sorry. I'm just going to read this guy's tweet, the one I was referring to. I'll shut up after this. His name was Matt Walsh. And before I even read this, he's a piece of shit.
Oh, yeah, he is.
He is an absolute piece of dog shit. But this is what he said. Much of the anti-Asian violence has been perpetuated by Black people. Anti-Asian sentiment is a problem in the Black community and has been for a long time. These are the facts. Trying to reposition this as white supremacy is bullshit and the people doing it are liars. He is a fucking idiot. Yes, there has been anti-Asian violence in the Black community. Just like Ken said, it's in every single community.
So anti-Asian violence?
Yes. You've heard many times about, why are they showing up our neighborhoods? How come we can't get a job and we can't get any businesses, but here's this Korean guy that opened up a store in this poor Black neighborhood. That's been a thing since I was a baby.
Even out in the West Coast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, definitely in the West Coast, because that's where I was. But that's been a thing since I was a baby. But him trying to pretend that this is not still a product of white supremacy, basically this is Black people enforcing white supremacy. That's what this is. This isn't Black people just randomly being like, we hate Asians.
Man, Black folks too scared to run up there trying to fight down fucking Asian because we all think they know some type of fucking martial arts,
which is another
racist
thing.
Shit. So yeah,
I mean, this thing does get deep, and if people care to learn, I mean, they just have to do the work. There are so many articles that you can look up that break down white supremacy to me, and self-hate and minority versus minority is going to be a part of it. It's just the way it is.